So we wrapped Couch Potatoes, and I kept my fingers crossed. You never know; maybe it's going to get picked up. It's syndicated, but I had no other show to go to. Back during Battlestar's days, I met a gentleman by the name of Harry Friedman, and I don't remember exactly how we met, but I know it was '84, and we just hit it off. We just immediately liked each other, and for whatever reason, we became partners. We just liked each other. And I don't know, I mean, he's from Nebraska, I'm from New York. He studied journalism. I'm a fiction writer. He was a family man. He had two daughters, a wife. I'm a single bachelor. No, I'm a married bachelor. And but we hit it off, and we immediately started coming up with game shows, even though neither one of us were really game show fanatics. Some people like yourself, Bob Boden, Bob loves game shows. He just eats it. When I saw him yesterday, I always bring him an old TV guide. Okay, I collect movie memorabilia, and I also have about 500 old TV guides. I always give Bob a TV guide. Why? Because he likes to go through the TV guide and see what game shows were on network at that time. It's just silly. But yeah, so Harry and I met, and I could not ask for a better writing partner. I never really had another partner. I never wanted. We just, as we wrote, and what's maybe interesting to younger people, we bought our first computers then around, I'll say, '84, and Harry and I both individually had purchased Macintosh computers, which were not particularly popular, because in the industry, everybody else, they were using IBM if they were using anything. So when Harry and I started coming up with ideas, which we did, one of which was the second time around. The second time around, we pitched initially to Telepictures. And the great thing about Harry and I is almost every single show we pitched, we got a presentation deal on. Because Harry and I, when we went into pitch, I was able to play big, crazy, charming, charismatic, funny David Greenfield, and Harry, not stoic, but the more reserved, experienced executive producer. Harry came off as the executive producer and could give answers, specific answers, very well-spoken, whereas, I was the silly, funny one. Not that Harry's not funny, he's amazingly funny, but as a partnership, it's not Dean and Jerry, I'm not that crazy, but it just worked. We both came across as charismatic in different ways. People wanted to work with us, and people wanted to like our idea. The point being, like the second time around, which we did then, I think we did it for Group W, we did it for Telepictures, we did it for Kushner Locke. We did that show, I believe, 4 times. First at the Callboard Theater, then at the Groundlings Theater, then at the Cary Grant Theater at Sony. The show was simply another relationship show. Why not? That's what I was known for. And again, it's simply because I got Barris in the phone book that I'm doing those kind of relationship shows. But our idea, and I'll give Harry more credit because why not? I'm guessing it's too long ago. It was a husband, wife, and ex-husband against a husband, wife, and ex-wife. And it's a matter of who said what about whom. I'm stressing that line because when Harry and I are writing the script, and again, Harry and I were great together because we would always defer to the other one when it came to synonyms or anything, like I was saying, here's our host, David, and Harry said, what about moderator? Oh, okay, yeah, you know what, for this one, moderator is going to, we always defer to each other because we always knew which one of us was right. We never had a fight, ever. And Harry would always announce, and I would always host. And again, because we wrote it, I didn't need cue cards, just like with Couch Potatoes or I'm Telling. I wrote the bloody thing. So I was the best person to go out there and host it because I had it memorized. I had that kind of brain. I had cards, certainly. But so we kept trying to sell second time around, and we got so close so many times. And, occasionally we get offhanded compliments like, wow, it's a lot better than I thought it would be. Like, what does that mean? But, unfortunately, we didn't sell. We had a lot of shows, and we kept pitching, and we would do that through the years, even when we got other shows, because, we moved on, as I will tell you. But it took a while. I was signed with Richard Lawrence at a place called Abrams, Rubeloff, and Lawrence at that point. Richard was to open up his own office later. And I begged Harry rather, to come over and get Richard as an agent. And finally, he agreed. And Richard heard about a show. Excuse me, there was a board game, and it was called Critical Decisions. And Harry and I didn't care much for the idea because it was about percentages. Okay. Example, poor example. We asked Americans, if you found $10,000 in a parking lot, what would you do? And would you A, take the money and run, B, call the police, or 3, whatever? We would give them choices. And the whole game was centered around percentages because the creator of the board game wanted to do a 900 number. They were very popular at the time, okay? $900 number, for those that are younger, were, I forget how much they cost, but it was at least $2 a minute or something to call up a 900 number and play a game or get a date or whatever you were using this 900 number for. But that was the main thrust of the game, was to get around to selling people to call in this 900 number, and whoever hit the percentage right on the money would get some kind of a prize. There were in-studio contestants as well, but you too can play at home. So Harry and I were not totally enamored of that. I'm pretty sure, and I'm pretty sure only because I found this the other day. It says it's critical decisions, presentation by, I don't know if you can see it.
Harry Friedman and David Greenfield, September 1989.
Right. So, I mean, this is the way stuff printed out.
Oh my God, it's on the old, yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is the way, this was, again, the only way I have, this is the way we printed
All
stuff.
type printer.
And again, Harry and I had Macs, but nobody else did. And so we did this on a Mac. So, I didn't even remember. I mean, I knew we did a present, but they had selected about 5 or 6 different production companies, all of whom Harry and I knew. And again, Harry Friedman, if I haven't said that enough times, Harry Friedman, who would go on to produce Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy, and holds the record for, I think, producing more game shows than anybody, including this one. So we did yet another presentation. Harry announced, I hosted, and we put together Rob Segrillo, good art director, may he rest in peace, a nice little set. And once again, you always want to surprise the buyer. Okay. You always, they're used to just presentation and it's over, presentation and it's over. I did a show called Going, Going, Gone for Kushner Lock. It was an auction show. I was bringing in everything from King Tut's tomb to live animals, which I got from the San Diego Zoo. The last thing they expected was to have this cheetah on a game show. But, again, especially it's an office run through and there's a live cheetah. Well, for the presentation, Richard was good friends with Dick Van Patten, who you wouldn't remember. There's a very popular show on. It was called Eight is Enough. We do it. Okay. 8 is Enough. Yeah. The payoff of the presentation. Well, during the course of the presentation, we're giving various the way Harry and I set it up, and I can read it as opposed to looking, but we're going to be asking critical decisions of a political nature, critical decisions of a personal nature, critical decisions of this, So we broke it down into, a format at least, because otherwise, they just had a board game, which didn't play as a game show. And so we had, I had a Miss America on, and I talked to her about, whether you should, at that point, Deborah Sue Moffat, who was Miss America, had removed ribs to get a smaller waistline so that she could become, and we were talking about, whether it was okay to become a Miss America or Miss C, or to enter any of those pageants when you're having surgery, facial surgery, things like that. Who cares? But it was an excuse to have a Miss America on and whatever. So I interviewed her and talked about that. And then the final act, it was about tipping, okay? On whether to, if you got bad service, how many people would tip, would you leave this guy tip, et cetera. So take it away. We went over to Dick Van Patten and his wife, and they're getting, the waiter, I believe, I could be wrong, Billy Reback.
The waiter in this presentation.
Yes.
Okay.
Billy Reback is one of the funniest men on the planet. Okay. And Billy Reback, you would know as the executive producer of Home Improvement. Okay. Tim Allen's show, produced all of those. But before that, he was a stand-up comic. He did Dating Game for me, and I used him a lot of run-throughs at Saban. He was terrific. And he helped us sell shows. And I believe he might have been the waiter as well for this bit. Anyway, Dick Van Patten and his wife, they get a check, and it's too much money, and they're debating, how much money to leave. And of course, me, I got to do this. And, she says, well, how much money should we leave? And Dick says, well, 8 is enough. Roan, I'm sorry, Harry. I know I did that one. But again, they weren't expecting Dick Van Patten. And so sure enough, out of the various contenders, of whom I do not know, I don't think we ever knew who the other production companies that we were up against were. We got the pilot, which was great. And even though we didn't believe in the show, we needed the job at that point. And, pilots don't take that long. But what was astonishing to us, remember, it was 1990, okay? It's over 30 years ago. Think about this. Harry and I each got $60,000, $60,000 each to produce the show. That's the equivalent of, well, let's at least double
at least
that,
100.
Right. So, $100,000 for what, 4 weeks work? That was incredible money for us. Plus, it was a 1099. We were getting $60,000 in cash. If they even 1099'd us, I don't remember. So it's like, whoa. And we were in total control because they were board game people. And there was a gentleman who had invested money named David Loring, another gentleman as well, who was in another business, who invested a ton of money because they wanted a big celebrity game show. And we got Michael, the run through itself, I used just regular people, contestants for the presentation. But for the pilot, we got Michael Landon, who was a big name at the time. He's always been a big name, but he was doing Highway to Heaven. What was the Little House? I think it was Highway to Heaven. Okay, show off. He was doing Highway to Heaven. Donna Mills was doing
Dynasty? No.
No, sorry. I'm sorry.
I don't win the smart.
What's the nice parting gives for you?
Okay.
Donna was doing Knots Landing.
That's
and
it.
William Shatner was
Rescue 911.
Yeah, William Shatner was waiting for Star Trek 2. And the three of them were great. Again, easy to brief. I was intimidated initially by Michael Landon, not because I knew anything about him other than from Johnny Carson, but because again, if Johnny's, I couldn't imagine Johnny not being with the great, that was one of his best friends, but because Landon was such a successful producer and such a successful actor, I figured he was also a successful jerk, but he wasn't. I mean, he was just so nice and so down to earth for being this multimillionaire. And Shatner is just Shatner. You know, if you see Bill, you know, he's a good guy. So, you know, he loves his horses and he's a nice enough guy. And Donna Mills was very pleasant and actually turned out to be funny. And the pilot turned out very well. We were very pleased. And it didn't go anywhere because the 900 number had to be so prevalent. You know, every time we would finish a round, a guy by the name of Eric Boardman, who wound up, he was hosting and he was my warm-up guy on Couch Potatoes. It's funny how all things come full circle. You know, Summers was warm-up on Lucky Rollers, then he hosts Couch Potatoes for me. Boardman is warm-up for me on Couch Potatoes, winds up being host for Harry and I on Critical Decision. And we didn't interview many hosts, but we wound up with Eric Boardman, and who's good. But the show didn't sell. But, you know, Harry and I were used to it, and, you know, we moved on.